course, we're looking at day 3 tonight. You just kind of got the liberal perspective of things, and now we're going to get, in a sense, the other perspective. Of course, you know this guy makes a ton of appearances on Fox News. He's also the executive producer of the smash hit documentary Uncle Tom. We're certainly going to talk to him about that. None other than the host of the Larry Elder Show, Larry Elder, joining us right now on the line. Larry, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Larry?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me.
No,
sure.
thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to join us. We know you're a busy guy. Before we get to the RNC, let's talk a little bit about your reaction to the DNC. I know you've been talking about that a lot on your show. As an overall reaction to it, how do you see it? Positives and negatives. Do you see any positives? I guess we could start there.
Not really. I mean, the DNC was all about Donald Trump is a racist. Donald Trump is literally personally responsible for the deaths of 170,000 people because of the COVID-19. And Donald Trump practically literally strangled George Floyd. They've got nothing. The problem for the Democrats is when Obama and Biden were in charge for 8 years, they delivered what has been the worst economic recovery since 1949. You know, you look at the exit polling in 2008, and there was a great deal of pride on the part of blacks to vote for Barack Obama for obvious reasons. But one of the top reasons that blacks gave for voting for him was the economy. What happened? During a period of time for 3 years, black net worth fell about 30% from 2010 to 2013. Now, I don't blame that all on Obama, but I blame a lot of it on him because the reason for this decline in net worth primarily had to do with people losing their homes because of the recession. But they wouldn't have had the homes in the first place had we not pressured banks into changing lending standards through government policy. So a whole bunch of people had homes who otherwise would have been renting, and then when the recession came, as recessions unfortunately do, they lost everything. The reason I say Obama is blamed for that is because when Obama was a private lawyer, he sued Citibank claiming that his client, who was black, did not receive a loan because she was black. 186 people joined a class action lawsuit. What happened? Citibank settled. Virtually every single one of the plaintiffs either was foreclosed, went into bankruptcy, or has horrible credit. Only about 10% still have their homes. My point is stupid government policy by the left, whether it's welfare state, whether it's the minimum wage, whether it's porous borders, whether it's anti-school choice, has made the country worse. And all they have is telling people what a mean, nasty, racist Trump is. When Joe Biden finally talked about his economic plan, which he didn't do until Sunday on ABC, we found out he wants to raise taxes for everybody making over $400,000. But by the same token, he says he doesn't want to raise taxes on mom-and-pop businesses. Well, I got to tell you, there are a lot of mom-and-pop businesses with 50 employees or less, which is what Biden said, who are making over $400,000. So he is taxing small businesses. This didn't come out until after the DNC for obvious reasons. So Donald Trump is about lower taxes, lower taxes, opposes the minimum wage. He strengthens borders. He supports choice in school. And for crying out loud, he delivered the best economic numbers for blacks in history. It's tough to beat that if the number one reason that people typically vote for president is the economy, stupid. Well, look at the performance of Obama, Biden. Look at the performance of the first 3 years of the Trump administration prior to the coronavirus pandemic shutdown.
All right, fair enough. So I'm going to give you my opinions. And by the way, I do agree with some of what you said. I disagree with some of the other things you said. We can get into that. So I'm an independent, Larry. And I despise Donald Trump. I'm not going to play games here. I'm not a journalist. I'm an opinionated talk show host. And I know you support Donald Trump. And by the way, I did not vote for Barack Obama. I agree with some of the things you said about Obama. Here's why. And you tell me, try to convince me, Larry, why I should vote for Donald Trump. And I'm going to try to tell you why I'm not voting for Donald Trump. Is that fair?
Why don't you give me the biggest reason, the number one reason that you don't support Donald Trump? Let's go from there.
Okay. Well, I would say 90% of the reason.
I'm excited for this, by the way.
90% of the reason why I despised man, because I think he is a horrible human being. The way he's lived his life, the way he talks about people. For example, what he said about John McCain. I don't respect him because he was captured. Going after women based on looks. Kids with three different marriages. The way he's treated women. 25 plus women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including one of his ex-wives. I can go on and on. The list is over and over and over again. I think Donald Trump is a despicable human being. Now, that really doesn't have anything to do with policy or politics. We can talk about Joe Biden and policy, and again, I don't disagree with what you just said. But with that being said, I do believe Joe Biden is a decent human being with empathy. And that is well, you disagree? You think Donald Trump is a good human being, Larry?
Well,
really?
Let me respond to what you said.
Okay.
The premise seems to be that we're voting for somebody because of their pristine character. I don't feel that way at all. I don't vote for a fishing buddy. I know that Donald Trump is a deeply, deeply flawed human being, a deeply flawed human being, the most deeply flawed president ever. He's got all sorts of problems, all sorts of things he said and done that I don't like. But I was once watching a golf show. I'm a big sports guy.
So am I.
And this host asked these two professional golfers, how can you tell if a golfer is a good golfer? And the first one went through this beautiful, detailed, elegant description of what makes a good golfer. Mm-hmm. How you put your arms, how you put your feet, how you swing your hips, how you make sure you keep your eye on the ball when you swing, you don't lift, and therefore you don't hook, you don't shank. All of this. And then she turned to the other guy and said, how can you tell if a golfer is good? And he said, I look to see where the ball lands. I like where the ball is landing.
So, Larry, where did the ball land?
Let me just finish.
Okay.
I like where the ball is landing on Supreme Court appointments. I love where the ball is landing on his support for school choice.
Okay.
Those reasons alone would have caused me to vote for him, irrespective of the other things that you've said. Furthermore, he wasn't running against Mother Teresa. He was running against a woman who has verbally intimidated an alleged rape survivor, Juanita Broderick.
I didn't vote for Hillary.
2 weeks after her rape by Bill Clinton, Hillary verbally intimidated her.
I didn't vote for Hillary.
It wasn't like a contest between Mother Teresa and Rasputin.
Larry, I agree. Larry, I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I despise Hillary Clinton. I despise Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to defend Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama on this show.
All right.
But with that being
Now,
said, let me just say one thing. Let's just say I'm getting to the tee box and the coronavirus starts. Did you say the ball landed and Donald Trump hit a drive 300 yards down the fairway where we look at 170,000 people that has died from this virus? We have 25% in the entire world from this virus. And you mean to tell me that you think Donald Trump hit a great drive down the middle of the fairway when it comes to...
I didn't say that about coronavirus. Well, he made mistakes, as did everybody in the entire world, including the CDC, that screw up on their testing, including Dr. Fauci, who initially downplayed it, including Dr. Fauci, who as late as March 8th was on 60 Minutes saying, don't wear a mask, including China, who lied to the world about when they found out about it, about whether or not it was human-to-human transmission, and those lies were parroted by the World Health Organization. Everybody screwed up. I don't blame Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't do a perfect job, but he didn't do a hideous job either.
Okay, but here's the difference of what you said. I agree with you what you said about Fauci until March, but guess what? Dr. Fauci changed his tune, and after that he said, you know what, we need to all wear a mask, and then at the same time, it was only 6 weeks ago that Donald Trump was mocking Joe Biden for wearing a mask, and then 3 weeks later, he says, well, it's patriotic to wear a mask. Larry, you have to admit that's poor leadership.
I admit that he should have been talking about wearing a mask a long time ago, just as I admit that Nancy Pelosi should not have been telling people to come down to Chinatown. Just as
I agree.
That Cuomo should not have forced COVID-positive patients into nursing homes.
I agree.
A lot of people made a lot of mistakes.
I agree.
Right.
But Larry,
and Anthony Fauci had a lot of mixed messaging himself, Brian.
Larry, I agree with what you just said, and I say this on the show all the time. From top to bottom, this was a failure. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. We just happen to be talking about Donald Trump. Let me ask you another question.
Wait.
Yeah.
I want to address Joe Biden's character because you claim to suggest that Joe Biden has a much better character than Donald Trump. I don't agree with that at all. First of all, we found out 40 years later, or whatever it was, that Jill and Joe have lied about how they met. Jill was in fact married to somebody else.
We don't know that for sure. That's not fact.
Said so.
That's not fact.
I don't know whether he's telling the truth or not, but
we don't know that.
It seems to me we've got offering penalties here.
But Larry, come on. You're a really smart guy, and I respect you, and I respect your opinions. You mean to tell me that you think, first of all, we don't know what you said is to be fact, and you just said that.
I don't say it is.
Okay, here's what we know.
You don't know whether or not Donald Trump has cheated on these women.
Okay, here's what we do know is fact. Donald Trump now has his third wife on Melania Trump. We do know that. He has kids from several different women. One of those women, including his ex-wife, accused him of rape. Now, maybe all those women, the 25-plus women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, maybe they're all lying. But what we do know on tape, he was bragging about grabbing women by the P word. What we do know is that he has been a womanizer his whole life. Okay, now, if you don't think he's ever cheated on a woman, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion.
I never said that.
Okay, but
again, I was at the National Religious Broadcasting Convention. I go every year, and all of these evangelicals are supporting Donald Trump. And I ask them why. And they all said pretty much the same thing. God chooses imperfect vehicles to transmit his message. I consider him to be an imperfect vehicle. But let me just say something about Joe Biden, if I can.
Sure.
Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record. He claims that he was a teenager. He would go to black churches. He would organize to make moves against restaurants and movie theaters in Wilmington to desegregate them. Zero evidence he ever did any of that. The New York Times checked it, and his aides, quote, gently reminded him to stop saying it, and he keeps on saying it.
Larry, there is no question. There is,
as you know, Joe Biden's first wife was killed, and infant daughter by a car accident.
Yep. Right.
Joe Biden publicly said twice that the man who struck and killed his wife was drunk when he was driving. The man was not drunk. If anything, Joe Biden's wife was at fault. The investigator said so, and the family was devastated. The man was already crushed, having killed somebody with his truck. To have Joe Biden publicly accuse him of being drunk, and his daughter contacted Joe Biden. Biden apologized that he wouldn't say it again, and then said it again.
Well,
Joe Biden also lied repeatedly, said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela, got arrested on the streets of Soweto trying to visit him with Andy Young. They contacted Andy Young. He said, I wasn't arrested, nor was Joe.
Understood.
Soweto is 900 miles away from where Nelson Mandela was housed.
Yes.
It is a lie.
Listen, Larry, there's no question.
Supported him every single race.
Understood.
Also a lie.
Larry,
so I'm not sure he's all that wonderful a character compared to Donald Trump.
Listen, I'm just going by the fact of the relationships he's had with Jill, which I found to be moving in the DNC. I don't think we're going to hear a love affair between Donald Trump and Melania Trump. But listen, Larry, I'm never said here on this show. In fact, it was only until recently that I said I was going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm not a huge Joe Biden supporter.
Wow.
We just disagree. I just think that Joe Biden is a better person. But I want to ask you a question.
Wait. You're an independent, but you're okay with raising taxes on rich people. You're okay with the single payer. You're okay with Joe Biden.
Here's what I'm okay with.
Redirect funds from the police. You're okay with 11 million illegal aliens.
Let's go through these.
I'm asking.
Let's go through this one by one. Redirecting money. If the redirecting of the money is towards police training, I support that 100% because I do believe law enforcement, we need to do something differently when it comes to training. That is far different than defunding the police. Let's talk about immigration. And I have a problem with, I'm for, by the way, I don't have a problem with a wall, and I am for that. But with that being said, 60% of the people that are in this country illegally right now are those that overstay their visas. Why doesn't Donald Trump ever talk about that? I would want ankle bracelets. No, I don't agree with the Democrats. I don't agree with giving these people bank accounts or driver's licenses. I disagree with the way Democrats are handling this. I disagree with the way Republicans are handling this. It's a failure across the board.
Let's also keep in mind that
will you agree that Republicans are far more likely to do the kind of things on immigration you want than Democrats?
Sure, probably.
Right.
I would give you that, but let's talk about that 1%.
Economy.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
The economy than Donald Trump.
Let's talk about that. I believe that we should not be giving tax breaks to these CEOs of these Fortune 500 companies. I don't believe in a $15 an hour minimum wage, but I also don't believe in a $7.50 minimum wage. We need to meet somewhere in the middle. I don't agree with. I don't agree with Bernie Sanders. I don't agree with a lot of these people that think a 16-year-old kid should be making $15 an hour at McDonald's. But I also don't believe that if you're making $1 billion a year and you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you shouldn't pay taxes. There has to be some middle ground here, Larry. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I really don't. Regarding the minimum wage, the correct minimum wage ought to be zero. What does a third party have to do with how two consenting people decide to exchange services for money? If you don't like how much money I'm being paid, what business is it of yours? What business is it of Bernie Sanders to demand that an employer pay me $15 if I'm willing to work for $10?
So let me ask you a question. Okay, let's go with that then. Let me ask you that. I understand where you're going with that because it's private business and people should be able to do whatever they want. Okay, so let's just talk about Walmart, for example. The billions and boatloads of money that they make. Are you okay with in this day and age paying employees $7 an hour? You don't think they should at least be paying people $10 or $11 an hour? You're okay with that?
Fair market value, my friend. Put out a sign saying, I'm hiring at $7 an hour, and find out how many people line up. Not very many. Fair market value should determine that. Otherwise, what else you're doing by jacking up the minimum wage artificially, you're telling people you don't need to improve your own skills because I'll come in here as a politician and I'll force this guy to pay you more. Don't self-improve. Don't go to school. Don't improve your skills because somebody's going to give you additional money just because it's, quote, the right thing to do.
All right, well, I think these are important conversations that Republicans and Democrats need to have. I just wish we would be able to meet somewhere in the middle. But I have to ask you a question as being an African American, if I may. I want to talk to you.
by the way, it's a term I never use.
A black
the only time
man.
I ever use it is when
Okay.
I'm quoting somebody else.
Fair enough.
It's a BS term. I'm
Okay.
an American who is black.
Okay, so as an American who is black, and I'm trying to be respectful here, Larry, with that,
I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying I never use it.
Understood. With that being said, you can call me whatever you want, Larry. I've been called every name in the book, but with that being,
Don't call me late for dinner.
fair enough. Okay, so Larry, I think this is an important question, and as somebody who is white, it bothered me. It bothered me that with the Confederate flag situation, I think what NASCAR did was the right thing to do. As you know, the Confederate flag represents hatred, slavery, and bigotry. I would hope that we could at least agree on that. So why did Donald?
No, we don't. We don't agree on that.
As an African
My
American,
mother and father are from the South. My dad is from Athens, Georgia. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama. Before they died, I had a very long conversation with them about the Confederate flag. You know what they told me? They couldn't have given a rip. They're more concerned about the fact that 70% of kids, black kids, are raised without fathers. They're more concerned that we have a 50% dropout rate in the inner city. They're more concerned that 25% of young black men living in the inner city have criminal records, either been arrested, in jail, on parole, or on probation. The Confederate statue doesn't even make my top 100 list of things.
Then why did Donald Trump tweet about it and attack NASCAR? Why does it mean something to him and he wants to defend it?
I don't know. Ask him.
I'm asking you.
White noise. It's white noise to me. I care about where the ball lands.
All right. So the reason why I bring this up, Larry, is for this reason. Okay, as you know,
pardon the expression, white noise.
no problem. So the reason why I bring this up is because, listen, I'm not a big De Blasio fan. Okay, I don't think he's done.
Brian, he's the worst mayor probably in American history.
I'm not going to go that far, but I'm not a fan
How can
of
you
this.
not go that far?
I don't want to get into De Blasio with Larry Elder, but the reason why I bring up De Blasio is, as you know, they put up this BLM, I guess you could call it, sign or on the street in front of Trump Tower. Now, legally, they didn't do anything wrong. So what does Donald Trump do? He attacks it. He says it shouldn't have been there, and he goes after that sign, but yet he attacks NASCAR and defends, he's going after NASCAR for banning the Confederate flag. My point is, doesn't he have more important things to do? Why does he go after the only black driver in NASCAR? Why does he tweet about this stuff, Larry? I know you're a supporter of his. It frustrates me. Why does he do this? Why does he tweet about Saturday Night Live? Why does he do this stuff?
I'll give you some advice. Ignore it.
But he's the president of the United States.
This is inconsequential stuff. Ignore it.
You think it's inconsequential?
I do think it's inconsequential. Whether or not NASCAR had the Confederate flag or not has no bearing on whether or not some kid in the 5th grade is going to get a good education. It's BS.
If you go after a business like he did with Goodyear, I believe, that's not inconsequential to them. They're losing money. If you're
Maybe Goodyear ought to think about having a stupid policy that allows you to wear a Black Lives Matter shirt, but not allows you to wear a mega cap.
Okay, but this is my question, and hold on.
Trump has a right to comment on anything
Larry,
he wants to. He's still an American citizen, even though he's president.
I hear you, Larry, but this is where I think you make a contradiction. You're talking about how local businesses should not be raising minimum wage. They should be able to do what they want, but now you're telling me, well, they have a stupid rule, and you don't agree with them being allowed to wear Black Lives.
I didn't say they couldn't do it. I didn't say they couldn't have the rule.
But you're okay with the president.
It's illegal doesn't mean I can't comment on it.
I didn't say you couldn't comment on it. I'm just saying you want government to be away from minimum wage and let businesses do what they want, but you're okay with the president of the United States hurting a business because it doesn't agree with what they do politically. I'm okay
with the president of the United States making a comment about something that bothers him. Yes, I am.
All right. Well, listen. All right, go ahead, JD.
Which could lead to the business being hurt, and the business has been hurt. Larry, Brian and I have debated ad nauseum about individual racism versus systemic racism in the police department as it is related to Americans who happen to be black like yourself. And I believe there is individual racism. Brian believes there is systemic racism. You made a tweet yesterday in response to LeBron James claiming that as a black man, even though he makes $40 million a year and lives in a $20 million house, one of his 4 houses, that he is terrified and that black men are terrified. You made a comment on Twitter and you responded with some very, very telling statistics. Can you expand on those, please?
Sure. The problem with this entire thing is that it is built upon a false premise, and the premise is that the police are shooting black people just because they're black. The data do not support that. If anything, the data shows the opposite. The police are more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black person than a white person. There is a black economist at Harvard. His name is Rolling Fryer. He's so brilliant. He is the youngest tenured professor. He became the youngest tenured professor in the history of Harvard, and Harvard is the oldest college in the country. And he did a study because he just knew that black people were being mowed down by the police because of the Freddie Gray and the Eric Gardner and the high-profile cases in the last few years. He found out that nobody had ever done a study about it, which surprised him, so he thought he would corroborate it. He said the findings were the most surprising of my career. Not only did the police not shoot blacks disproportionately because they were black, they were more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black person than on a white person. Same study in a publication put out by the National Academy of Sciences looked at every shooting and killing in 2015, 2016, same result. If anything, blacks ought to be fearing young blacks living in their own neighborhood. 50% of the homicides in this country are black victims. Almost all of them are killed by other black people. The fact is, a young white male, the number one cause of preventable death for a young white male is accidents, like drownings or car accidents. The number one cause of death, whether preventable or not, for a young black man is homicide, almost always at the hands of another black person. In recent years, there have been about 1,000 people killed by the police every single year, last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
500 of them have been white, 250 of them have been black, so the police have been killing twice as many whites. There have been at least as many unarmed whites have been killed as blacks, usually most years more unarmed whites than black people, but I bet you can't even name an unarmed white person who's been killed because Van Jones, CNN, and the rest of the cabal couldn't give a rip when it's a white person being killed. But if it's a black person, in comes CNN, in comes MSNBC, and it becomes this big thing.
Well,
fact, it is rare.
I don't speak.
Rare.
I don't speak.
I'm in Los Angeles.
Sure.
From 1992 to 2002, we had back-to-back black police chiefs, including during the O.J. Simpson case. And because of all this stuff about the police fabricating evidence against Simpson, he did a full study during the trial, found out nobody had done anything wrong, nobody cared. The people who still said O.J. Simpson was an innocent man framed by the racist LAPD said it again. Even though the LAPD now is demographically representative of the city. The city is about 40% Hispanic, as is the PD, Asians, blacks, so forth.
So we only
doesn't seem to matter.
So we only got a few more minutes, and yes, I hope we all could agree O.J. Simpson is a double murderer and a scumbag. But let's who by the way, Larry lives about 2 blocks.
By the way, Leo Terrell didn't believe that for years.
That's true. Leo comes on our show all the time, and by the way, O.J. lives a couple blocks down the road from the studio. It's kind of scary here. All right, so we only got about 2 minutes left.
Is he still looking for the killers?
yeah, right, exactly. Absolute psychopath scumbag. But anyway,
can you believe he got away with this?
Yeah, he's definitely a sociopath.
Yes, I can.
The other day.
Yes,
hair, shoe, fiber, blood.
Yes, I can.
His hand,
because you had
honestly, and this guy got off.
He got some incompetent prosecutors, and all you need is a couple dumb jurors or one guy that's leaving the courtroom with the Black Power sign. That's all it takes. So you're not going to get an argument from me, Larry, on that one. We only got a couple more minutes left to go, Larry. But I did want to bring up, Tim Scott, who talked about how he's been pulled over 10 times in the last year for doing nothing wrong. He believes because he was black. I'm sure you would agree, Larry, that yes, there is racism out there. While the majority of the police officers are good police officers, I truly believe that there is racism out there, and it also
never denied it. But there was a study done in the Obama administration, came out in 2013, called Race and Traffic Stop, to find out whether or not there was a racist reason behind the fact that blacks are disproportionately stopped by the police, and they are. And the study concluded that the reason blacks were disproportionately stopped by the police is because they disproportionately break the law.
Yeah.
Whether it's speeding, whether it's driving without tag, whether it's driving without headlights, you name it, a black motorist was more likely to commit that offense than a white motorist, and therefore they concluded that the reason for the disproportionate stops was for, quote, legitimate reasons, close quote. Talk to Obama. It came out during his administration.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hear you. I want to give you an opportunity before we go to talk to you a little bit about. I know you're the executive producer of the smash hit documentary Uncle Tom. You did a fantastic job. Can you talk to our listeners a little bit about that before we let you go?
I sure can. I am overwhelmed by the critical response of this movie. You can go on IMDb and look at the reviews. There are now over 500 reviews that people have written, and the movie is off the chart. It is really a pep talk for America, a pep talk to Black America. The reason I did the movie is because this conversation you and I are having right now.
Yep.
If I had this with another black liberal, generally speaking, I'd be called an Uncle Tom or a sellout probably within the first 2 or 3
I would never do that. I would never do that.
Right.
Of course you wouldn't. And that's my problem. Within the black community, people like Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, they don't even know who they are because the black media never covers them because they don't like their politics.
Right.
My point is, this stuff about vouchers, this stuff about choice in school, people like Thomas Sowell have been advocating this for 40 years. Nobody hears him because nobody knows who he is. He's been ignored by the media, and black people routinely refer to him as an Uncle Tom. So the movie is about maybe a dozen or so conservatives, some well-known, some unwell-known, who have lived their lives and simply talk about the fact that they have a different point of view than the Democrats, and all they want to do is sit at the table so we can have an intelligent discussion the way you and I are having right now.
Yeah, and you know what? Listen, we're not going to agree on everything, obviously, Larry, though I do think we agree on more things than we disagree. Maybe not.
Absolutely we
Maybe
do.
not. Maybe not when it comes to Donald Trump. But that's okay. But listen, I respect you. You're obviously an extremely intelligent guy, and you're good at what you do. And I've enjoyed the conversation, and I do agree with you. I think Democrats and Republicans, even though I'm not a Democrat, I think people that disagree need to have more of these civil type of conversations. I just get angry when people make ignorant comments on this radio show. You haven't, and I appreciate that. Some of our callers do. And as I'm sure, Larry, you get a lot of callers on your show sometimes that might frustrate you as well that don't agree with you. But Larry, I appreciate this conversation. I can't wait to watch Uncle Tom. Sounds like a great film. And the fact that you're a part of it, I'm sure it's fantastic. Larry Elder, I hope...
Trust me, you will love it.
I will. I promise you I will watch it, and I can't wait to do so. And I hope we can get you on the show again maybe one more time before the elections. That would be great.
You know where to find me.
All right. Thanks, Larry. I
Thanks
appreciate
a
your
lot,
time.
Larry.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.